Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to your reading for the next 6 months. This is for June through December of 2025, if you can believe it. We have this crow spirit says co-create with spirit, and this dove spirit that says be peace on it. So I do think that, a lot of your astrology is encouraging you to create more peace in your life in general. I would also say that we have a ton of energy going through Aries, and the opposite of Aries is Libra, and Libra is all about peace. So I always tell people that I think we should also remember that we have to work with the opposite energy, not just the transit or whatever's happening in the sky. We have to also make sure to balance things out. And so like some of the problems that we will see with Saturn and Aries, Neptune and Aries is like, hot-headed energy, people getting too excited about things that they shouldn't be and all that other stuff. So we have to bring peace to those situations. It's like, I think that, you have the Chariot, right? And so there could be a lot of road rage over the next many years with all this Aries energy. Your job is to let things go, right? Just not engage. And, that is like the opposite energy. So that's just one of many examples. You have in your current general energies for the next 6 months, you have the Moon, the Emperor, and the Hermit. The Moon is like mysteries and secrets, fantasies, things like that. I think that this could be about being brave. I mean, the Saturn and Aries energy is asking people to be brave and confident. And you have the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. Both of these cards ask you to be brave, assertive, confident, all those things. The thing about the Moon is we have this lobster right here. And the lobster is wearing its emotional armor. Really, I think that something people should know about the Moon is that the secret to the Moon is to kind of like release your emotional armor. It's kind of like a weird thing or a weird fact of life that really it's like we try to protect ourselves from things. We try to protect our vulnerabilities, but really we can't protect anything. And so, it's kind of like a weird, I don't even know what to call it, like fallacy, or it's like a weird paradox, right? It's like the more you try to protect yourself, the more you keep yourself stuck. The more you are willing to be vulnerable, it's like you can't get hurt, right? It's kind of like the kid in class who gets made fun of, but he owns it, right? It's like if you've ever known one of those people where it's like they own their nickname or whatever, right? And it's like, it's almost like because they're willing to be so vulnerable, they're almost bulletproof because they own it, And I don't know where I'm going with this here, Taurus, by the way, but it's just popping into my head. It's like, sometimes I think we try to protect ourselves, but if we did the opposite, we actually would protect ourselves without trying to protect ourselves. And sometimes I think that's what the Moon is talking about. It wants us to be vulnerable. The lobster can't move very well on land because it's wearing this armor. And so I just feel this is saying, like, be willing to, be vulnerable. And that doesn't mean you're not protecting yourself or anything like that, but, there's something about that. You have the Emperor here. Like I said, I think everybody is probably going to get this Emperor energy in their readings, mostly because we have Saturn and Neptune and Aries. They will both retrograde out this year, but they are going to move back in next year. At the end of January, Neptune moves back into Aries, and then in February, Saturn moves back into Aries. So I think that, in a lot of ways, we're just embracing this kind of like bossed up energy. One thing I will say about the Emperor is that he has his armor on underneath his cloak, and you have the Ace of Pentacles coming up in this reading. And so the Emperor is ready to go at a moment's notice. He's kind of like sitting and waiting. He's not really doing anything here on the card, but the armor says when an opportunity presents itself, he's going to take it. And that is probably something a lot of people will experience with this Aries energy. It's like very quick, opportunities for pretty much everything in their life. And so if you're ready to exploit these opportunities, there could be a lot of success. But again, these are going to be quick opportunities. And so I would just, prepare for opportunity. You have the Hermit. The Hermit, I definitely think it's not time to be in Hermit mode. We have to shine bright at this time. The Hermit says you've been through a dark night of the soul, and now you are shining your inner light, and it's time to do that. He has his inner light inside this lantern, but he needs to kind of be a light to the world, and he needs to open up that light. He also needs to come down from this mountain that he's standing on top of. And the Hermit really tells you that you have everything you need to do this. He has he's gained the knowledge and wisdom on his journey, and everything about him represents wisdom. He has a gray beard, gray cloak, he's got that staff, the light. And so it kind of says you are ready to shine your light into the world, or whatever the case may be here, Taurus. So I think that it's definitely time. Like I said, I definitely am getting here that it would be a good time for you to be ready for like new opportunities. It's like you're much more, I feel like I say this to you all the time, but it's like you are much more prepared than you think, or you're much more prepared than you realize. And, I think you need to know that. So, if you get any random work opportunities or business opportunities, whatever it is, be ready to take them, because I feel like you are ready. With the moon, you have the Six of Wands. Six of Wands, a card of success and a victory. This is about needing to be seen with that moon card. And so this is about having the bravery to speak up and excuse me, sorry, my allergies are bad today, so I'm definitely feeling it. But again, I think you have the ability to be seen. With the Emperor, you have the Eight of Wands. Yep, very quick. Eight of Wands is something that happens very quickly. It is a quick conclusion, a quick success. I think that really with the Emperor and the Ace of Pentacles, these are opportunities that are going to be presented to you. And it could be in any area of your life. And, they could, come in very quickly. And, this could also represent the fact that you're going to have to grab on to these opportunities very quickly as well. Like maybe you're not going to have a lot of time to think about them, or maybe you're not going to think that you're prepared, but you really are. The other thing is like I would do things to prepare. I don't really have a good example for you, Taurus, but, if you have a certain, job or career or business, it's like that you could learn as much as you can about that business so that you're more prepared for opportunities that come in the future. And that's what I would do. Same thing with like love, for example. If you want love, this could say there are love opportunities coming in for you, but you should prepare, mentally, emotionally, every other way that you could possibly imagine. It's kind of like that energy of, what do they call that? I don't even know what they call that. I have a word that's on the tip of my tongue right now. And, but I think it's like a manifestation thing where you basically prepare for the thing that you want. I don't know. Someone will know what I'm talking about in the comments. With the Hermit, you have the Four of Swords. I think you've been through this resting, relaxing, recovering mode, healing mode. You've probably been healing for many years. And now you're ready to come out of that healing time and you're ready to move forward, plain and simple. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this Path to Knowledge card. It says you are journeying into the realm of knowledge to assist in your personal growth. You have this Entanglement card. It says if you realize that you are in an entanglement, it may be time to move on or take a break. Yes, if you are in an entanglement, definitely could be time to move forward. We talked about this Path to Knowledge, basically, with the Hermit. I think you're done. Really, I mean, the next row, you have the Ace of Pentacles, Chariot, and the Queen of Wands. It's like that is go time, is what that row represents. So I think there's nothing more for you to learn, and I think there's nothing more for you to like necessarily educate yourself on. Now, I'm a big fan of education and educating yourself forever, but I think if you have an opportunity, you're ready. If you are thinking about starting something with that Ace of Pentacles, you're basically ready. Are there going to be things you're going to learn as you go along? Yes, absolutely. But as it stands, I think you are ready for whatever it is that you're hoping for here. You have the Seven of Wands, the Six of Swords, and the Ten of Swords. This is coming up right next to the moon, where we were talking about being vulnerable. Now, we can be vulnerable and still put up boundaries. He is maybe being vulnerable, but he is drawing a line in the sand. The Seven of Wands is my card of really just drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is what I'm willing to accept into my life, and everything below this line in the sand, I'm not willing to accept. So we can still be vulnerable while having boundaries, and I think the Seven of Wands is encouraging you to do that. The weird thing about this, and it makes sense. We go down to the Four of Wands. I was getting like the word commitment on this card. I don't really look at the Seven of Wands as a card of commitment. It is a card of conviction. It's a card of believing something so deeply that there is no other way than for you to be successful. It's like when you get to that point, when you truly, truly believe that something is for you, then it can be for you. But, is that commitment? Kind of. It's really conviction, though. But, again, I was getting commitment, and we do go down to the Four of Wands. Four of Wands, sure. it can represent marriage, but it really is a card of commitment. And it could be commitment to anything. So if you're going to do something, I feel this is a go all the way reading. It just popped into my head. That's exactly what this is. I'm surprised the star isn't here because it's definitely like a star reading. It's, the star to me, she's dipping her toes in the water, but she needs to go all in. She needs to be all in on something. And if she does that, she'll make it successful. So whatever you're trying to build, could be love, could be business, could be your health, whatever. Doesn't matter. I think you need to go all in is what this is encouraging. You have the Six of Swords. Six of Swords, of course, is moving on to calmer shores. Tons of improvements in this set of readings, and it makes sense. We're clearing all that crappy energy we've been having with all the retrogrades and everything. And, I think that there are just general improvements. Like I said, are things going to be perfect? Absolutely not. We're in a crazy time until 2033, as I always say. So it just is what it is. And but, again, we should be trying to make things more perfect in our life. I think the big lesson people have to learn with Neptune and Pisces, in Aries, is that you have to save yourself. No one is coming to save you, right? And really, this did start with Neptune and Pisces, but, I think it continues because Neptune and Aries is like looking for a savior. But, the whole point of Neptune and Aries is that you come for full circle and you learn that you have to save yourself. But I'm telling you this now, so you can just do it right now, right? And you can create your own improvements, and that's what I would do. Even, I always say that Eight of Wands is my card of creating a slip and slide in your life. It says, if there are things that are causing friction, can you remove those things? Can you smooth those things out? Or can you make them better in some way? And so Eight of Wands wants us to look at friction and look at how much speed we build up to. We build up to the Chariot, which is, you could say, maybe the fastest card in the deck, maybe. And, I think this is all about you removing friction, these cards, and making things easier. Next, you have the Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords says something is dead, done, over with in your life. I think if there's something that needs to be removed, you already know what it is. And, yeah, I just think that a lot of you could be kind of like removing things that are holding you back. You could be letting things go. You could be making deeper commitments and going all the way into things that you want to build in your life. So it's a very powerful reading here, Taurus. I do think, as usual, it's all about you, which is a good thing. I think when the readings are all about you, it kind of gives you the power to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish here. With the Seven of Wands, you have the Sun. A lot of Sun in these readings. Like, a lot of people have had the Sun in this set of readings, which is good. It's the summer. It could say that it's going to be a bright and shiny and happy summertime, right? The other good news is that we go from the Moon to the Sun. I am not a big fan of readings that go from the Sun to the Moon. Going from the Moon to the Sun is much more positive. You're kind of like getting out of that Moon period, and you're stepping into a period of clarity, light, seeing things clearly. Happiness, joy, removing the fears, all those things. With the Six of Swords, you have the Two of Swords. I kind of feel like you've already made the decision to move across the choppy waters. On the Two of Swords, she has choppy waters behind her, and, I always say she needs to get to this island. The Two of Swords can represent being stuck in a stalemate or being stuck in, like, trying to make a decision. And so I think a lot of you are kind of like just moving on to calmer shores with these Six of Swords and Two of Swords. This could also be like a way out, going this way. So if you have been stuck in the mud, stuck in a stalemate for a while, this could be like an opportunity to get unstuck, which is great. With the Ten of Swords, you have the Empress. Amazing. Your card here, Taurus. I kind of feel that Taurus is like Cancer in some way. Like, I say what I'm about to say to Cancer a lot, but it's almost like you are finally putting yourself first. It's like maybe you are finally deciding to value yourself. Maybe you are finally deciding to value, like, what you bring to the table or what you can create or what you can do, instead of, being in the Moon energy of doubting it and questioning it. And so I get this certain level of confidence, obviously, from the reading, especially Emperor and the Queen of Wands. And, it just seems to me like you're believing in yourself more. The Empress can represent abundance, success, growth, birth, being very attractive at this time, Taurus, all that other good stuff. But I kind of feel this is more like you valuing yourself, which is good, obviously. And, I think something people need to realize is Aries, is the first house. It's yourself. So even if it isn't your first house, it doesn't matter. It's still, as a collective, we are all kind of working on that first house energy. And, presenting yourself in a better way is going to be beneficial. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this action card and this wisdom card. Yeah, it's like time to take action on what you know, is what this is saying. The Hermit says the same thing. It's like the Hermit knows a lot, but if he doesn't use it, he's not going to get anywhere. So I think you need to use your knowledge and wisdom to be successful with these cards. You have the Ace of Pentacles, the Chariot, and the Queen of Wands. Yeah, like I would be, I think the other thing that I want to say, I think we are an amazing time to sharpen the axe. It's like, I think it's Abraham Lincoln, or someone said it, I don't remember who, that, if he had 80 hours to chop down a tree, he would spend 60 hours sharpening the axe or whatever. I don't know what the actual saying is, but, you get the point, right? It's like, this is preparation. This reading looks like preparation to me. So if you are wanting something in your life, I think that it would be an amazing time for you to sharpen the axe, because opportunities are coming, like in work or business or love, whatever it is you want. And if you're if you're prepared for it, then you're going to be able to, really have a home run here and make this opportunity very successful. So I think it would be a great time to sharpen the axe, but you do also need to take action with that action card. And so, that's what I would do, plain and simple. You have the Chariot. The Chariot, of course, can be a victory or a big success coming in for you. So I think that the Chariot is really talking about speed in your life. I feel, especially once we get to February of next year, even though this is a next 6-month reading, I think you're going to notice things picking up speed now. But, I think next year, things are really going to be picking up speed big time, especially even when we get to March as well. So, a lot of you could really be taken off at that time. And the Chariot is a card of taking control. He is a card of hard control. We have 2 cards of control. This and the Strength card. Strength card is soft control. Chariot is about, grabbing those reins and really making something happen. This is more of that go all in type of energy. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, we can't be flip-floppy, right? Pisces is very flip-floppy. I'm a Pisces. I flip-flop all the time. So, what I would say here is that we have to go all in. The other thing is, we have Uranus going to Gemini. Gemini is also very flip-floppy. I'm a Gemini moon, so, it's like I'm very flip-floppy on things sometimes. And really, it's a time of commitment. We have to, really take control and make things happen. So I would. You have the Queen of Wands. I think Queen of Wands comes up like crazy in readings, and I think this is an amazing energy for people to embrace. She is my card of learning as you go. And I think that is the number one fear, or maybe not the number one fear, but maybe number 2 that people have. And that is not knowing what to do or thinking that they can't handle something when you totally can. So I think the Queen of Wands is encouraging people to just say yes and on things that you want, and then you will learn as you go, but that's kind of what we have to do. With the Ace of Pentacles, you have the Judgment card. There you go. Wake up call for sure. The Judgment card, this is your higher self angel. And so with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like your higher self could be guiding you towards better opportunities, or your higher self could be guiding you towards things that are going to lead to a lot of success. And, I would basically allow your higher self to guide you at this time, because you will be very successful if you do. With the Chariot, you have the Devil. We all have to get rid of bad habits. We had that eclipse in Virgo back in March or whatever that was. And there's something about that. And also, by the way, in May, we had that full moon in Scorpio. That full moon in Scorpio, I think, was really trying to point things out to us that we should remove. That full moon in Scorpio is like your inner truth. But it's like admitting the truth to yourself about things that aren't good for you. And so no bad habits, no toxic things at this time. It's pretty simple. With the Queen of Wands, you have the 9 of Cups. Yeah, wish fulfillment coming in for you. Amazing reading. Again, these readings have been very amazing the next 6 months, these 6-month readings. It makes sense. I said at the beginning of the year that I thought the second half of the year would be better than the first half, and it definitely has been true. So I think that there's more fulfillment coming in for you. This is about matching energy as well, and I think that would be very helpful for Taurus. Making sure that you're not doing things that you hate is going to be very important for you over the next, I would say, several years, not even just, this year, and really being in alignment. The more in alignment you are, and again, this goes back to vulnerability, right? It's like sometimes we have to take the risk of being vulnerable and, in the things that we say even. And doing that will bring us more into alignment. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this research card. It says, before you make your next move, it's important to do some exploratory research so you know all possible paths you can take. A lot of research stuff. I kind of blame Pluto and Aquarius. I think we should be researching, but I would also say that I think with that Pluto and Aquarius, we need to be experimenting. That's why in every single video I preach, 1% improvements. It's fine to research as long as you take action on what you learned. You have this dependent card. It says you can't fully come into your power if you're relying on others for financial support. This is coming up in the good stuff, so I think a lot of you are becoming more independent. It's like you are being able to take care of yourself. It's funny because, I think I said this to you in a reading a while ago, Taurus, that I felt like there was some sort of flip happening for Taurus. I said this to you, where it's like maybe you have a spouse and maybe they're the breadwinner. I remember saying this, that it's like Taurus now is going to be the breadwinner, or Taurus is going to be the one to kind of like take the lead, or there's going to be like some sort of flip or something like that. And, I've been feeling this for you for a while, Taurus. So it's like time for you to like take the lead. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have the Five of Cups, Page of Wands, and the Four of Wands. I think you're understanding things. I have the word understanding. This card doesn't represent that, by the way, but that's the word that's popping into my head, is that like maybe you're not comfortable with things that have happened to you in the past, but you are at least understanding why certain things had to happen. It's like it's almost like you're completing the story, and I think this will really set you free. I do feel good about this in the good stuff. I think that in some ways you're setting yourself free from old stories, like things that didn't work, things that hurt you, or things that disappointed you. And it's like you're no longer attaching those things to your identity. So like I said, very powerful reading for personal change, I would say, as well. You have the Page of Wands. Yeah, get ready for the adventure. I think things are about to become more fun for Taurus, more enjoyable, and less like corporate. That's what's like popping into my head. It's almost like your life has been corporate, even if you don't have a corporate job or something like that. It's like there have been certain rules and certain regulations that you've had to live under, and that is literally what's popping into my head with the Page of Wands, is like things are becoming less corporate. I don't know if that makes sense, but those are the words that I got on that card. You have the Four of Wands. Yeah, if you want love, it's a great time for love for everyone the entire summer. So, I would definitely get out there. But, I think this is more about your commitment to things, how you commit to projects or ideas or your health or whatever you're trying to improve. You're more in that go all in type of energy, not so much the I'm just going to try this a little bit. I kind of feel like Taurus, I don't think this is totally true, but I think partially that you are removing the word try from your vocabulary. You're becoming more of a doer, really, is what this reading is saying to me. It's a very simple reading. There's no reason to overcomplicate it, right? With the Five of Cups, you have the Knight of Cups. Definitely could be love coming in for you. I don't think these readings have been kind of surprising because they haven't had a ton of love in them. There's been like a little bit kind of like this, but, definitely could be a knight in shining armor for those of you that want it. With the Page of Wands, you have the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, more stability and freedom. These are two key words of Uranus and Taurus, is stability and freedom. And Uranus is changing signs, so you probably are implementing the things that you learned during Uranus and Taurus into your life, and that could be making things better. With the Four of Wands, you have the Moon. Again, good that it's showing up in the good stuff, because we start with the Moon, end with the Moon, and it's like you finally understand what you should be committing to, is kind of what I feel with that Four of Wands. Or it's like you finally understand what you should be doing, and now you can commit to those things, so that looks good to me. You have this Parrot card. It says someone will gossip about you and all your secrets. Yes, a lot of gossip. Again, you have to remember Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Aries is projection, and I'm oversimplifying it, but I see a lot of projection energy, so I would just ignore it, because I think people that are really hurting right now are just going to do a lot of projection, and I would just ignore it. You have this June card and this Wedge card. It says someone will try to come between you and a friend or something you want. So in the month of June, I would definitely be careful of other people who are trying to tell you not to do things, or, don't be with that person, or don't do this, don't do that. There could be people who are trying to create a wedge. You have this Stork. It says news of a birth or new business opportunity. I mean, the whole entire reading, Empress, Ace of Pentacles, is all about this. So you are clearly birthing something new. You have this flute. It says disappointment in a friend or a lover. Yes, again, if there's a person who's trying to come between you and like a lover, I would be very careful. It's like people do this sometimes for whatever reason. It's like, especially if they're single or miserable. I always tell people, be careful of miserable people because, if you have a happy relationship, they might try to ruin it. You have this dark man. It says dealings or relationships with a man with dark complexion or hair, and you have this love card. There you go. So it could be a dark person. Doesn't have to be a man, whatever you're into that you are attracting. I like this because it's simple, like very straightforward, simple reading. So thank you for being here and definitely enjoy your next 6 months.